This is the TBR2 software. Now, I've had lots of questions. The actual data is available in Radar Opus as an add-on or in ReferenceWorks and Synergy as an add-on. So if you use those programs, certainly you could buy that. And me being up here, I have no financial affiliation, so I got nothing to support one or the other. I personally have used all three, and I just personally really love this version. That is the version that Dimitriadis produced himself. I find it to be a very sleek and elegant software. And so I'm just going to go through some basic things. Oh, I forgot. Tara, my backpack's over there behind you. Can you just bring me my backpack? Yeah, quick question.
One of the virtual attendees wanted to know if there was any translations available of the documents in languages other than English. No, you had mentioned
Yes. Well, there are thousands and thousands of documents in the library, and you'll note that there are folders for German, for French, for all different languages. So this is a little visual for those online. It may be difficult, but this book, Homeopathic Diagnosis, is for sale. There's probably a few left. It is the instruction manual, how to use the repertory. The first half is kind of theoretical. And then the second half, a lot of that you learned this weekend. The second half are practice cases. So when I was learning this over a decade ago, I did a lot of that, and it really facilitated my learning. Just for like a visual, and I don't know if the online people can see this, but this is TBR2 next to Kent's repertory. And if you look at Kent's repertory and you open the pages, the type font is really small. And I didn't have synthesis at home when I thought of this idea at 4:30 this morning. But synthesis is even bigger. So it is a pocketbook. And there's only, I think there's like 2,150 rubrics. George will correct me. But, you know, that's enough rubrics that if you actually bought the books, which I don't think they have here in person, you'd have to order it online. But when I learned, before I looked at the software, it was great reading material to fall asleep. And there's a small enough amount of rubrics that you could actually thumb through the book and learn the rubrics. Whereas a big book like this, unless you're like Dr. Mittman, when I was on his shift, he would say, oh yeah, on the corner, on the top left-hand corner of page 436 is this rubric. I'd be like, I don't know how that guy has such a, like a, you know, that kind of memory, but photographic memory, but not me. So that's how I would learn the rubrics. And in the back of the book are the endnotes. So every rubric has a number, and then the numbers correspond to the endnotes that describe the rubrics at the back. Okay? So by comparison, if you're using the actual repertory, there's a bunch of ways to find rubrics, but let me give you just the lay of the land. Firstly, all of these lines here are adjustable, so you can change the windows how you like. But the rubric chapters of the book are all represented here, so you could go in and search for rubrics by, for example, you clicked on behind ears, and then over here you see ears. And then if you scroll over and hover over where it says REM, the remedy graph pulls up, and you can scroll up and down to also see the remedies in that rubric. But you could go through the decision tree here and find all the rubrics in the tree there. That's not how I search, but certainly if you were learning and you wanted to learn all the rubrics kind of the way I did when I was trying to fall asleep at night, you could do it that way. The way I like to use the software is in this box here on the top left. You type in a word here. So we'll type vexation. It's an easy one. Now, if this button here, synonyms, is grayscale, that means that it will search for synonyms of the word you searched. If you click on this word, notes, it will add rubrics where that word is also in the endnotes. I don't particularly like that because too many rubrics come up. So I usually take that out unless I want to find, is there some description in the endnotes of that word. If you then click on a rubric, the endnotes that are at the back of the physical book are right here for you to read. So you actually get here, it gives the actual German from the original Berningshausen repertory, the original therapeutic pocketbook, and also a reference to, in TTM manuscript, what the actual rubric location or number was in there. And then he gives kind of explanations of what that rubric means with reference to proving symptoms and or dictionaries of the era. So, words, like in his presentation, words are important. And the most common question I would get from students is, where do I find this in the repertory? Or what word is the right word for this? Or what does this rubric mean? This is the only repertory that contains this kind of information to help you learn the rubrics. So if you click on a rubric like vexation or vexation with anger, it then adds to the repertory clipboard. And you see down here the repertory clipboard. The rubric is listed here. You can adjust all of these things. You can move them back and forth. You can make the fonts bigger, smaller. It's very sleek and elegant. The remedies, of course, go across that way. You can also double click here on where it says Rep 1, and you could change it. So let's say you wanted to change the name of the rubric and say aconite case. You could save it, and it will save. And then if you wanted to save the repertorization, you can open the patient manager button, which is this person here on the far side. And then you would add them. First, you would add a new patient, add all, their information. They at least need the asterisk information to add them into the database. And then you hit here to add the repertorization, and it'll save it. So next time the patient comes in, you can pull it back up. Or you can go and also add information with notes for the prescription you made. So I do that oftentimes, just so I have a quick reference. I chart note in an electronic record system, but I often leave myself quick notes here. Okay, see this here, open patient manager? Click on that. And then you're going to go to the plus button. And then you're going to add the patient's information name. And then once you've added at least the asterisk required information, you hit OK, and then they're added to it. And then when you select the patient, you can add, you could add a repertorization and save it for that encounter. Yes, there's a save icon on the top. You could do it that way too. Or like, let's say you already opened an existing repertorization and you just you made some changes to the repertorization, you wanted to save it, you just could hit the save button. This button here, this 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2 in the top, you can actually, if you get really good at the numbers and you want to memorize the numbers, all you have to do is type in the number. So for a shorthand, if you were handwriting notes like we used to do in the clinic back in the old days, or even in your chart notes if you type them, if you didn't want to type all the rubrics, let's say in your assessment, but you wanted a quick hand, you could just jot down the numbers, and then you could type the numbers back into the repertory the next time, and they will automatically just go that way. So it's a quick hand. The other way you could do it is if you click here on this button here with the 2 pieces of paper, it says copy the rubrics in text format to the clipboard. And you copy that, and then you can just paste it into an email. So at 3:30 in the morning when I'm vexed, I'm either sending Dr. Messer an email about my son's eczema case, or I'm sending George an email about something, and I copy and paste the rubrics. Or the other time I do it is like in my chart notes, I actually literally just copy and paste the repertorization into my assessment. So it's a quick hand. I don't have to think next time. Next time a patient comes in, I say, why the hell did I prescribe that remedy? Oh, those are the rubrics. That's why. This, you can add or subtract rubrics with these buttons. So if you use the subtract button, it'll cut that rubric out. You can also, the recycle or trash can, that will just clear all the rubrics from that repetirization clipboard, but not all of them. If you had like a whole patient open and you click this button, it refreshes and cleans all of the tabs and clears it for a new patient. Okay. So there's some other neat features about this. You could search remedies this way, like you could type in aconite into there's a remedy, this second box here, you can type a remedy and then all the rubrics with that remedy would come up. I don't use that feature very often in clinic, but you could do it. There's also this comparative button where you could actually pick different medicines. George calls it a rubrica medica, I believe. And you can pick the grades. Like, let's say you only wanted to compare these 3 remedies only in grade 3 or 4. So you can do it that way. Okay, let me go back. If you go to this thing, this like looks like a spreadsheet, open rubrica medica window. And that way you could actually do almost like a materia medica comparative remedy analysis and pick a couple different remedies that you're comparing and compare and contrast them in multiple different rubrics. And lastly, the last thing I'm going to say before we move on to Juan Carlos's case is that there is a materia medica here. It is only the remedies of Hahnemann, so it's somewhat limited in that way, but I do use it for those remedies, and I like it. The remedies that, let's say, are in the pocketbook but are not from Hahnemann, there's no information in there. So like if you went to Ruta, it will say, Ruta is not a remedy of Hahnemann. But, if you don't have access in a searchable way to at least Hahnemann's remedies in the software here, it's a great way to do it. If you push the plus button or the minus button, it just makes the font bigger or smaller. And then you can use this, this word search thing to search. And if you have the synonyms button clicked, it will also search for synonyms of the term. So then if you want to just you can hit the arrow, and with the arrow, well, let's see. When you push the arrow, it'll just, I don't know if you saw that, it went too fast. You see the blue? You hit the arrow, it'll just go to the next reference. So you can kind of quickly scroll down. What's nice is all the numbers are retained. And also you can copy and paste. If you just click on a symptom, you can copy and paste the symptom. So let's say you were doing a PowerPoint presentation like we were doing, and you wanted to include the symptoms as evidence for why you gave the remedy. You can copy and paste it. Sometimes there's, it doesn't always include the citation, so you got to add those. But that's the basic information. Any